good morning and welcome. It's the Patriot Radio News Hour live on this Tuesday, the 28th day of November. I hope this day finds you well. Gorgeous, just gorgeous day here in the Valley of the Sun. I will say this. It has been incredibly hot this fall, winter, even here in Arizona. And I say it all the time. We like to pretend it's cold, and we can't even do that. It's been that hot. It's been like 80s. I think like Thanksgiving, it got like to 90. Just way too hot. But nonetheless, the sun is out. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous day. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day and trying to keep the stress level down. You know, it's the holiday time and everything's going on. My wife was going through our schedule about all the things we have to do, and we just have no time. I mean, we got our sons are playing in the state finals in the state championship game this weekend, which happens to be in Tucson. We got basketball season's already started. Both my kids are players on that as well, and of course they still are in football, and then you got all the holiday parties, and everybody's trying to. My youngest is going to be 15 on Saturday, the day of the finals, and then trying to have a party for him, and it's just college coaches coming to our house, and it's a lot. Got a lot going on. I know all of you do as well. And I will say this: we told you the other day we didn't participate in Black Friday or Cyber Monday, but I told you yesterday we when I say we, and really when I say we, I really mean Wendy. She left no stone unturned. We were trying to set up. We wanted to do something, and we've done a lot of great things, but something on the gold side, because we've been doing a lot of silver, and rightfully so. I mean, the
silver's good. I like
the peace dollars, the walkers, those quarter. I mean, those were great opportunities, but we wanted to do something on the gold side, and it finally came together.
Oh, it did.
It finally came together. I still don't quite believe it, but it's true. We actually locked it up this morning, and we have 35 apiece. Is that
35 apiece?
35 of
each.
Of each of these.
35 each of what we have.
We have. So these are $10 liberties. So that's the item.
Yes, $10.
But something that we don't do a lot of. We don't do a lot of graded stuff here. Matter of fact, when we do graded coins, we do them at non-graded prices, as I like to say.
Right.
And this price is, I don't know that I've ever done it. So I'm excited about it. We have 35 apiece of MS 61s and 62s.
$10 liberty.
Right, and they're all PCGS or NGC. I don't know which is which, so you can't. You get either or. I'm not going to. You can't say I only want NGC or I only want PCGS. It is what it is. But I do have 35 of each of these.
Right.
Okay. A regular ungraded $10 gold piece is $695.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you called me right now or called Wendy and said, "Hey, I want some $10 liberty,"
they're $695.
Today I've got 35 apiece, so the 35 62s are going to be $695.
Even though they're graded.
Correct. And I'm going to go through the grades in a minute. The 61s, $690. So you're going to be able to buy graded coins at or below ungraded $10 pieces, and that just doesn't happen. And for those of you that don't know how the coin market works, you have the ungraded, which we tell you, hey, you want to buy as much gold as you can, right? That's the goal, really. When we talk about buying, we've got two types, right? You've got the people that buy, hey, because I think the whole thing's going to come crashing down, and it's going to be chaos, it's going to be anarchy, and I need the gold and silver to barter and buy things. right? That's group number one. That's probably the smaller of the two groups. The larger of the two groups is, hey, I get what's happening. Right? And Jerome Powell's testifying, trying to get voted as the new Fed Reserve chief, testifying today. And they all talk about the nonsense that is the Federal Reserve and fiat money and all of those things. But you get what's happening, right? The debt's going to roll here at approaching $21 trillion. It's going to double in 10 years. Social Security and Medicare, there's no trust funds, they're broke. The pensions and all of that are broke. And you understand, hey, this is just how fiat money works. And gold is your store of value. It's your hedge, right? That's the larger, probably the more prevalent reason. And then for most of us, we're smart enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm not really sure which one. Could be both. I better have some of each. But the coin market is really simple. You have your ungraded, then you have your very fine and your extra fine, and then you have your AUs, what we call the almost uncirculated. Remember when the U.S. minted these gold pieces, they put them in the burlap sacks. And I always like to talk about, in those Western movies, the burlap sacks, that used to be where the gold and the silver, that's what they were in, literally, were in those sacks. And some coins, a lot of the coins, they made it out into circulation. Some coins never made it out of the bag. And these are the coins that we're talking about today. We'll go into more detail when we get back, and then I'm going to give you kind of a snapshot of what Powell's talking about as well. 800-951-0592. Some of you know the number without me saying it. They're already moving here. So we've got the MS-62 and MS-61 $10 Liberty gold pieces, and I was kind of trying to explain the coin market. So especially when, and this is talking about the older, the pre-1933, all the new stuff. It's never been in circulation. If somebody's abused a gold eagle, I mean, you really had to go out of your way, right? But before that, especially when you're talking about the Liberties, these coins, you're talking 1866 to 1907. So these things were going on horse, on stagecoach, on railroad cars. And they were in these big treasury bags. And, they bounced around. The ones that actually got put into circulation, in other words, somebody went to the bank and said, "Hey, I'd like, I need $20," and they handed him two $10 Liberties, right? And he took that $20 and he went over to the rancher and handed that rancher two $20 or two $10 pieces, and he took that cow home. Then that rancher, right? He gave that to his wife. The wife went down to the feed store, right, and bought a bunch of feed and what have you and whatnot, and gave it to the feed store. You understand, right? It got put into use. Most of those coins, when they confiscated gold in 1933, got turned in, right? They took it all. A lot of that got melted down. Almost all of it that was here in the U.S. got melted down. That's what they tell us is in Fort Knox. The other gold that didn't get melted down was actually overseas. So think about this. These $10 gold pieces more than likely got put into circulation here, ended up on a boat, sailed across the Atlantic, and landed in, whether it was England or France or Italy or Germany, wherever it may have been. And after the gold confiscation and they repriced the gold, and we told the story about how they turned all that gold back over, and then as they figured out about what the central bank meant by inflation and all of those things, wanted it all back, and we closed the gold window and that whole story. But some of these coins, and you think about that story, some of these coins, and far, far fewer, never made it out of these treasury bags. In other words, they got put on a boat in a treasury bag, sailed across Europe, sailed across the Atlantic, landed in Europe, where they left them in that bag, and then sold these bags to dealers who had them graded. And think about graded coins, because like I said, we don't do a lot. I mean, this is maybe the second time this year we've sold a graded coin, maybe, right? And in some years we probably don't ever sell one. But what they do, just think of a scale of 0 to 10. So you had the stuff that hit circulation, right? You had the what we sell, what we call the raw coins, right? Then you have the XFs and the VFs and the AUs. They even have a BU category, which is brilliant uncirculated. But then they grade them, and they start, instead of 0 to 10, they do 60 to 70. Right? 70 would be, it's perfect. Those don't exist. These, like I said, I told the story, they get coin marks and all of these things, but these are at the lower, these are the mint state, and that's what MS stands for, mint state. These are the mint state 61s and the mint state 62s. So if you think about what we normally carry, what we normally recommend, you have the raw $10 piece. So now you have an XF, a VF, an AU, a BU, an MS60, an MS61, an MS62. You're going up 5 and 6 grades. And same gold. These actually come encapsulated, right? So they're in these hard plastic cases. You see right through them, and they're graded, and I have the grade and all of that on there, and you can handle the coins, and it's front and back, and they're in this hard plastic case that's a little smaller than a playing card, like when you play spades or hearts or blackjack, right? It's a little smaller than that, and those are what we call the graded coins. So these coins never made it out of the treasury bag. Or if they did make it out, someone put it in a sock drawer, never touched it. It doesn't have a lot of the coin marks. It didn't get put into a piece of jewelry or something of that effect. And these are just great material. PCGS and NGC, they're the standard when it comes to coin grading. The fact that you can buy an MS62 at $6.95, that's the same price as our ungraded $10 piece. And then if you buy the 61, $6.90, $5 less. And I asked Wendy, and Wendy said, she thinks once we did run a grade, and she thought it was a 20. That was, hey, we ran some 20s at the same price once. She doesn't think, and I don't even remember that, but I don't believe we've ever had graded coins.
Not $10 ones.
No, right?
No.
So
absolutely not.
So so take advantage of it. $695 for the MS62, $690 on the MS61. These will be here next week, so they'll go out quick. You won't have to wait weeks for them. They're going to go out quick. We'll have them out to you, too, by the way, if you want to do a stocking stuffer for your wife or your husband or something like that.
Oh, that's
right?
Yeah.
And we'll have them out there for you.
Very nice.
800-951-0592, MS61 $10 Liberties at $690, 62s at $695. How's that for a cyber special? By the way, you can't do it online. We don't even have the $10 graded coins. We don't even put them online because we just don't carry them. We don't think you should pay extra for the same amount of gold. And now today, you actually can pay the same or even $5 less. 800-951-0592. And I know that we have 3561s, and we're down to 3062s. Someone, I think two people already called and bought. So you got 3062s left, 3561s left, 800-951-0592. So Jerome Powell, is in front of Congress, the confirmation hearing, making very similar. Again, he is Janet Yellen, but he's a man and he's a Republican versus a Democrat and a woman. Very, very similar policies. Talking about slack in the labor market, said that he believes that 4.6% unemployment is the sustainable level, and so we're down at 4.1. But he talked about the fact that working men, and I will give him credit. So here's what some of the things I like. There's a problem. And they don't talk that way, right? But this is what he's acknowledging the problem with the number that they give. Men 25 to 54 are disappearing from the labor force. That was the number, just so you know, just go back to 2000. That number was mid to upper 90s, 95, 96%. If you were a male between the ages of 25 to 54, you were working in this country. Today, that number is just at 88, might even be 87 and change right now. So you've had a huge drop in the male labor force, especially prime age, what we call prime age working males. And then, of course, he also talked about the actual labor force participation rate, which was up near 69, 68, 69% men and women of working age working. Didn't matter the age. That number now down at 62% in every, we just remember the last big government jobs report, right? They added 966,000 people disappeared out of the labor force as reasons why there may be slack in the labor market and other things. And we'll talk about some of his other comments that he's been making, but dovish, pretty much through and through. I haven't seen him do anything that has surprised the markets. Gold's sitting there unchanged, 1,294, 1,295. Really hasn't moved very much at all today. And again, no big surprises as of yet, as Jerome Powell is testifying in front of Congress. Did say that he doesn't believe the too big to fail banks are going to fail, and they think they fixed it, and they want to believe that they fixed it, but they didn't fix anything. If anything, it's more dangerous than ever before. He did talk about the higher capital and higher liquidity. I will tell you this. On our website today, we have down, and it's down near the bottom, Neil Kashkari from Minnesota, the Minneapolis Federal Reserve governor. He was at one of the colleges in his district, and if you listen to it, it's another one of these hour-long things. But about 15 minutes into it, he talked about how the too big to fail banks really aren't too big to fail, and of course the taxpayer. And one of the analogies he used was with, when you buy a home, the bank wants you to put 20% down, right? That's the real. Before we got to, we just need to sell homes at any price. You needed to come up with a down payment. That down payment was 20%. And he said the reason why the banks want you to put 20% down is it gives them cushion. right? In case you don't pay, they can foreclose and do all that stuff, put the house on the market, sell it, and not lose any money. He goes, but yet we don't force the banks to keep 20% on the stuff that they're going to buy, right? When they go into debt, hey, we want 20% down. You need to keep 20%. And I thought that was a brilliant analogy. He goes, and until that happens, none of these banks are safe. And I don't even know what they keep, 94%, right? The 6%, something to that effect. But so far, and he's still testifying, by the way, this is ongoing testimony. So far, no surprises from Jerome Powell, and I don't expect it. He's a pretty dovish guy, and I think he's going to be very good for the gold market because there's not going to be a lot of rate hikes. I think he's going to be very quick to act when the next recession hits, and I think that's going to be much sooner than people think. And I think you're going to see him go into, and you think about some of the people that we've talked about, John Williams, we talked about last week. Hey, we already know what we're going to do. More quantitative easing, more balance sheet blow-ups, negative rates. We may have to just start sending people money, all of those things. And then the other big news today, the tax cuts, are they in jeopardy? We're going to talk about that one next.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily broadcast from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, and we're upholding the legacy of Phyllis Schlafly, a constitutional attorney and articulate voice for traditional values for more than 70 years. Now, from the Phyllis Schlafly Center Studios, here's Ryan Haidt.
Every fall, as students go back to college campuses, we see even more ridiculous antics and thought police outrage from the radical left. In just a few short years, we've gone from free speech zones and safe spaces to a total disregard of the First Amendment and violent riots at the slightest sound of conservative speech. Parents and students alike are concerned, and rightly so, about not only the education, but now the safety they will find on campus. It's time for students of all political, social, and religious views to stand up and fight back against the radical leftist authoritarians run amok. Students must recognize that the true marketplace and exchange of ideas is quickly disappearing. Students are arrested for distributing the Constitution, mobs shut down events, vandalize property, and even violently attack individuals. School administrations openly block and rebuke student groups with conservative or even moderate viewpoints. Suppression of free speech is now the norm. The first line of defense against these flagrant violations of our constitutional rights is the student body itself, speaking up for and acting for freedom. Students should be equipped and know what their rights really are. One way students can take a stand is by signing petitions like the one at changemycampus.org. In these mass signature efforts, students can call on their university or college to, among other things, eliminate speech codes that prescribe what students can say and speech zones that limit where it can be said, end mandatory student activity fees that add to debt and compel students to fund others' activism they might not voluntarily support, reject the easy paths of succumbing to political pressure and censorship from the loud aggressive factions, defend the free exchange of ideas. Phyllis Schlafly knew that today's student will soon lead the nation. It is imperative that they learn how to understand and respect our Constitution, our God-given rights, and our wonderful nation.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Do you have a college-bound son or daughter? Do you care about the next generation? At phyllisschlafly.com, we expose the liberal agenda and anti-Christian mindset found on most college campuses and help equip conservative students to stand up for their beliefs. Visit us at phyllisschlafly.com and join us again next time for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. The I think probably, think about it, this year's been an incredible year as far as the ability to buy gold and silver as close to spot as we've been able to do. And when I think about all the gold specials we've run, this is the best one. I mean, without a doubt. MS62s at $6.95, the same price as a raw $10 Liberty. The MS61 you can buy for $5 less at $6.90 at 800-951-0592. So the tax cuts they're supposed to make it out of committee today. So you have the Senate committee that is in charge of the tax reform package. And I don't know if there's 10, 11, 9, however many of these guys are on the committee. And it may not happen today. As Bob Corker, you guys may have saw him in the news. He's from Tennessee, and Donald Trump wasn't going to support him running for re-election, and they got into a little Twitter war there. He's on this committee. And he said, hey, it has nothing to do with my feelings for Donald Trump. It all has to do about the budget deficit. And said that he's on the fence about voting for the crucial tax cuts, as he said it would cause damage the nation over the long haul. And here's a guy, he says he's on television. Right, he goes on the idiot, and this is what I said. It's incredible. They let you say anything. He goes, I've been a deficit hawk for 11 years, and I'm thinking, deficit hawk. Let's see, 11 years. That was 2006. The debt was what, 6-7 trillion. Right, it's 21 trillion now, Bob. Good job. Way to go. Man, you were really a hawk. I mean, I would hate to see you if he was a dove, how bad it would be. During an interview on the Idiot Box this morning, the tax bill in a procedural Senate Budget Committee vote was scheduled for today. And now he's saying, here's what he wants. And I'll just kind of give you the long and the short of it. He's not running for re-election. Okay, and that's probably the most important thing, because when these guys don't run for re-election, they tend to tell a lot more truth than they do otherwise. And he goes, well, you know what? Here's what I want. If the people, the economists, the president, whoever put this bill together are wrong about how much revenue is going to, because, here's their thought is, hey, we're going to grow because of these tax cuts, and therefore the budget deficit won't be that bad. And so now today we find out, I wonder what the real numbers must look like. They got to be, because they say 1.5 trillion over 10 years, right? You hear that ad infinitum. It's in every newspaper. It's on every website. They say it on the Idiot Box all the time, and we all know that's not true. Can't be. And I say that with certainty because it's just like, the President Obama going, you can keep your doctor and it's going to reduce the deficit about Obamacare. Same thing, right? We know it's not true. What we don't know is what the real number is, right? This is that 1.5 trillion. That's got to be like the best number possible, right? That pie in the sky and blue skies and no recessions and the economy grows at 4, 5, 6% GDP, all that stuff. I don't know what the realistic number is, and I really would love to know what if things don't go quite right, what throw a recession in there, and this is how bad it could be. But they know. Bob Corker knows. And today he said, I want a provision put into this bill that says if the revenue projections are wrong, that we get to go back and say, you know what, no tax cuts, everything goes back to the way they used to be. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if it doesn't get out of committee. They want the Senate to vote on it before they leave town, because otherwise it won't get done this year, right? And really they need it to get done this week, because then it's got to go to the House, because they got to repass it in order to get it done before the end of the year. I don't know. It doesn't look likely that that's going to happen if that's really his stance. But he's now claiming that he's a deficit hawk. Yes, and I know, right? The hilarity of that, and says that the only way he'll get the vote is if he can go back and say, okay, here it is. It's 2019, and these revenue numbers aren't working, and the fact of the matter is that we're not going to add $1.5 trillion to the debt. We're going to add $3 or $4 or $5 trillion. Let's all go back. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. But that was Bob Corker this morning on the Idiot Box, and he's actually on the committee. So will it get out of the committee today? I don't think so. How about this one? This just hitting the tape. New York Federal Reserve President Bill Dudley, another guy that is stepping down, right? So we're losing Janet Yellen, we're losing Bill Dudley, and now, of course, the third guy is Stanley Fisher. We're losing all three of them, the chair, the vice chair, and the New York Fed. So Donald's got more work to do after Jerome Powell. He came out this morning, and he called for a public reporting on Treasury market transactions. Now, the funny thing I got to ask Mr. Dudley is, why now? Right? You're stepping down, and now you're going to say, hey, you know what, maybe we should tell everybody what's really real in the Treasury market. What is in there that you want us to know about now that you're leaving? And why does it always take them leaving before they want to come out with actual good policy? He says he believes transaction data reporting to the public would ensure that the Treasury market does not fall behind other markets. Interesting. I'm not sure what other markets is he talking about. Is it the Chinese market? Is it other debt markets? Is it... And fall behind, what does that mean? Maybe he'll write a book about it. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back, 800-951-0592. Yeah, boy, I'm feeling a little cold starting to come on. I hate that. You know what? It's because it's too dang hot, and it's almost December. Our toll-free number again, 800-951-0592. There's now 23 MS-62 $10 Liberties at $6.95, which, if it was me and you said, okay, which one would I buy, the 61s or the 62s, and I'd buy both. That's what I would do. So the 23 of the MS-62 $10 Liberties at $6.95. There's 26 of the MS-61 $10 Liberties at $690. That's $5 below our ungraded 10 on the 61s and the exact same price on the 62s. Somebody actually just said there's only 14 more days that Congress is in session. And now they're saying it looks unlikely now that they're going to be able to get this done before the end of the year if this bill's not going to come out of committee. And really the Republicans are in charge. And they just can't seem to get it done. Already 2 senators are no. So they're already at no. One is Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. Of course, Wisconsin's one of the high-tax states. Right, that's the one where, hey, if you don't give the deductions, people in Wisconsin are going to pay more. Montana, Steve Daines has come out and said that he will vote no as well. So right now they need to, I guess, come up with something to satisfy everybody else or try to get these two guys to change their mind. And now Bob Corker has come out and says he's not even going to let it get out of committee. Then you got Susan Collins, John McCain, Jeff Flake, right? So we got all those other people that we worry about as well. So I don't know, but at least as of right now, they've hit a snag in committee, and it doesn't appear as it's going to get out there today. We'll have to see how that goes. Jerome Powell, in the meantime, is in his confirmation hearing, talking about policy and what they expect. So far, no big surprises out of Jerome Powell, at least right now. That testimony is ongoing. And like I said, we got more work to do. The top three people are all stepping down. And now, and I don't know what Dudley's comments will do. William Dudley, the New York Federal Reserve chairman, came out today and is calling for full disclosure, I guess, for lack of a better term, on the Treasury market. I think that would be awesome. Wouldn't it be great to find out who really is buying any of this stuff? I mean, do we really believe that people are lining up around the block to buy 10-year Treasury notes at 2.3%? Right? I mean, would you do that? Hey, lend me, lend me $100,000 instead. In the case of the United States, we probably roll over, I don't know, $6, $7, $8 trillion a year. Lend me $6, $7, $8 trillion for 10 years. And I'll give you a return over the 10 years of 2.3%. I know that the inflation rate, the Fed target rate, wants 2% a year for the next, that'd only be, 2% on 20%. But that's a good deal. Think about it, right? It makes no sense. It used to make sense when they were paying you 7, 8, 9% to hold it for 10 years. Now they're down at this 2.3%, and according to Powell, that's not going to go up very much if he's the guy. And as far as I know, I don't think there's a lot of opposition to him. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that would be wonderful. I would love to know who's buying all that stuff, wouldn't you? Who's lining up for that? Because you know what, whoever it is, right? If it's J.P. Morgan or Bank of America, I'd be taking my money out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's not them, right? And I'm sure if we had full disclosure and we traced it all back, some guy in the Cayman Islands and all that other stuff, I would love to know who it really is. My guess is we'd find out it's just our own central bank. Gold's now gone positive, so I don't know if I haven't seen any more headlines on Powell other than he's still talking right now. $1,296 right now on gold as Jerome Powell testifying, as William Dudley came out today and asking or thinking that, hey, it would be really good if we had public disclosure on the Treasury markets. Powell did say the U.S. no longer has too big to fail banks. See, they fixed it. Right? And I told you they really did it. He believes it because he knows what the law says. Right? The same law that I've been telling you about. Yeah, we don't have too big to fail banks. If the bank fails, we'll just take it from the depositors. It's simple. Right? We've written the law now. It's all good. So in case you were worried about that, the new Federal Reserve chief, if he gets confirmed, which I believe he will, don't worry about too big to fail banks. We've got it all taken care of. We'll just go right into your account and take it from there, and it'll be just fine. Citigroup, we talked about them yesterday, and then they admitted that the central banks may have lost control, and they're now joined by J.P. Morgan as well. All of this policy, just for a minute, think about it. interest rates, the 10-year note at 2.3. It's ridiculous, right? Deficits that, even by their own admission, are going to go up by at least $1 trillion a year every year over the next, foreseeable future. And I'm telling you, it's probably going to be more like $2 trillion. And they think this is good economic policy. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. Dow's up 120 points. Jerome Powell, he's popular. He's got gold higher and the Dow higher. That's a stellar performance. Of course, that's what we were expecting. This is what Wall Street wants here. Easy money, right? Easy money, and somehow that's good economic policy. It's really ironic how things have changed. So the other day we talked about how, remember, they blamed Alan Greenspan for the housing market. Now, it was his fault. Don't get me wrong. Just not the reason why they blamed him for. Remember, he brought interest rates to 1% for a whole year. And they said that was the cause of the housing market. That wasn't the cause. Obviously, we know that now. But remember, they were like, oh, my God, this policy was so reckless. And now they want us to believe that somehow today, keeping rates at 1% is a great idea. Right? There's no recklessness. Right? That makes perfect sense. Right? And you start thinking about all of everything that they used to say was true is no longer true. Right? You're supposed to not buy stocks after 55 and go in the bonds and live off the interest, but now there is no interest. The interest rate, anything below 4%, and then the Fed funds rate was considered incredibly risky and dangerous. Now, hey, if you try to go above 2%, you're out of your mind, right? 3% GDP growth, it used to be, that was okay. Right? 3%, they're like, well, if it's going to get into the twos, we may have to start lowering rates. Three was, like I said, it was okay. Now, 3%, most people don't even think we can get there. And really, the reason is because of the debt. And I'm not just talking about government debt. And I'm not talking about your states and your pensions and all that. Consumer debt. Right? Everybody, and I say everybody, 70%, 75% of the people that are living paycheck to paycheck. And that doesn't mean you only made 30. I mean, if you're making 100 and probably 80% of the places in this country, you're making $100,000, you're still living paycheck to paycheck. And you know it. We all know it. That's a fact. And they sit there and try to tell us that what they're doing makes great economic sense. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it was absolutely idiotic to do this. And we're getting ready now for the idiocracy to come to fruition. Right, as the debts start piling up and all the bills come due. And isn't it ironic that it's happening, too, while everyone's getting ready to retire? 10,000 people a day. Right as the baby boomers are supposed to retire, right, all the rules have changed. And, of course, the next step is going to be how do we come out and pay for it all? And nobody will have the answer. I've got the answer. They're going to take it from us. That's how it's going to happen. That's why you put something away so where they can't get to it. U.S. MS 62 $10 liberties at $6.95, 61 at $6.90 at 800-951-0592. Everyone take care. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk again tomorrow.